Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit of economics this morning.
Okay.
Right, and this list that we've got here:
Okay.
production possibilities, frontier, demand and supply, consumer demand, perfect competition, inflation, macroeconomic objectives, economic growth, GDP, unemployment. If you know a little bit of each of these, you will pass your exam with flying colors. Now, I'm not going to start with the production possibilities frontier. I think you might know this by now.
Okay.
Demand and supply. How you on that?
Okay. Where's the one supply?
Do you know what perfect competition is?
Yes. Perfect competition is when all the prices are at one set rate.
Exactly. So the demand curve, if a firm wants to enter that, is perfectly elastic.
Okay.
Inflation. Just show me in your book, in your study guide, where they deal with inflation.
I'm not certain because I was looking at the contents here, trying to dot where is this.
Yeah, to make a kind of a correlation.
Yeah.
Inflation, is it part of microeconomics or macroeconomics?
Could be both.
No, it's part of macroeconomics. Okay, so it should be
Okay.
over here. So it's part of macroeconomics. I just want to see what your book says here about inflation. Okay, when we talk about macroeconomics, we talk about aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Now, aggregate is not just adding up the various demands, but you can actually view it as a combination of all the products and services being produced, which there will then be supply, and all the products and services that are being demanded, which would be your aggregate demand. Okay. In microeconomics, we're looking at each of them in a specific market. Like you get the market for shoes or the market for cell phones.
Okay.
When you look at macroeconomics, you add them together, but you can't talk about the prices of a specific product anymore. And you can't talk about how many cell phones. You need to add cell phones and shoes together. That's where the term aggregate comes from.
Okay.
Okay. And it works just like in microeconomics. You also got an aggregate demand curve and an aggregate supply curve. Okay, so the book doesn't specifically mention inflation even, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, there's nothing on inflation here.
So I don't know.
Okay, so let's just deal with macroeconomics to start off with,
Okay.
and then I'll show you how inflation relates to that. Economic growth, GDP, unemployment. Okay. What are the macroeconomic objectives? There are 4 of them.
Land.
Okay, now those are production factors.
Okay.
So if you were the Minister of Finance
Okay.
in a country, what would you be concerned about?
Supplies.
So those are the macroeconomic objectives.
Okay.
Okay, the first thing that you'll be concerned about is the value of your money.
Okay.
So you would be concerned about inflation. That's a macroeconomic objective, to keep inflation stable or fairly low.
Okay.
Normally 2% is regarded as acceptable inflation rate. Now, what is inflation?
Increase in goods and services.
It's got to do with prices. It's a general rise of prices over an extended period of time. Now, you need to know that definition.
Okay.
So, if they talk about inflation, you say it's a general rise in prices over an extended period of time. You can even say it's a significant rise in prices. And then the other thing, the opposite of that is that your money can buy less. So it's a decrease in the value of your money over a period of time.
Decrease.
Okay. Like this year I can buy bread for 10 Rand. Next year I have to buy the bread for 12 Rand. That means the value of my money has decreased by 20%. So that would be inflation if you look at all the products and services in a country. So one of your objectives will be to reduce or keep inflation stable. The second objective is economic growth is a objective. Now, how do you measure economic growth?
By the increase in monetary values.
Okay, well, you can put it that way. It's an increase in the real monetary value of all the goods and services produced within a country.
Okay.
Okay, so that is economic growth. So that would be another objective that you would have. And related to that, there's another objective, and that is unemployment. You want full employment. You want to reduce unemployment. So employment is your next macroeconomic objective.
Okay.
And then there is a last one, but economists argue about it, and that's the issue of equity, the difference between the poor and the rich, that gap is not too big because they believe that it causes social unrest, almost like we've seen in the past week in South Africa.
Okay.
People start rioting in the streets and because they're poor. Okay, so equity is another macroeconomic objective that one would look at. Okay.
Okay.